Hi, I thought I would make a video for this response for our sketchbook. And I just wanted to respond to one of the readings for this week, the equity literacy article. And that one kind of hit home for me. And I'll be full disclosure honest, never had considered it from this perspective. And I think that's part of the reason why it was a reading for us. But thinking back to my experiences in schools, I remember several different times where we would have a multicultural fair, or the art teacher would do some kind of an art project to address a different culture. And, it just, like many teachers and educators, like Jonathan that the article mentions, never occurred that could be a problem. And I think it's going to be a hard change for a lot of districts, a lot of schools. Um, it sounds great on paper, multicultural curriculum initiative. But then when you've got kids, and I've actually worked in a couple of schools that sound exactly like this one. In fact, I'm going to one tomorrow it's not Title I. A lot of parent involvement and very few minorities. When I walk around the school, it's hard for me to find a minority, and yet I'm thinking back to last week when I was there. Pretty sure I saw evidence of like art projects on the walls to try to fit in that multicultural aspect of things. Um, so that's interesting. That equity literacy. I read the title, equity literacy. And it sounds, oh yeah, sure, I know what that means. No, it's more than what I had thought. So, embracing equity literacy. It has to start with. Districts obviously need to be thinking about this, but it's going to have to start in classrooms, and it's got to be a bigger effort. It's got to spread. And I like that they include some keys to developing this, because honestly, when I was reading the article, I almost wanted to skip ahead to the bottom to see, well, where's the map to do it? How do you do that? How do you make it better? And they identified these four abilities. Recognize, that's the step. Recognize any kind of bias, discrimination, inequity. Respond to it. We've got to be teaching these kids, okay, yay, we're doing an art project, but why? Like, they've got to understand, and especially in like a K-5 environment, those kids aren't going to get it, they're just not going to get it. There has to be some kind of an education initiative. There's got to be some kind of teaching so that kids get it and so they understand. So recognize, respond to it, respond to bias, discrimination, inequity in a thoughtful and equitable manner. It's got to be a safe environment. It can't be an all or nothing kind of thing. It has to be a safe environment. Redress bias, discrimination, and inequity, not only by responding to it, but by studying the ways in which bigger social change happens. And then finally, cultivate and sustain bias-free and discrimination-free communities. It's going to take an understanding that doing so is a basic responsibility for everyone. And, if I had to pinpoint a problem that we have going on right now in our nation, that would be it. That would be it. People can say that, racism is long gone or what. No, it's very much here. And people just don't understand. They see everything at face value, and they think that we're fixing it by doing a multicultural fair, by having a parade, by doing an art project. That's what the majority, I think, of society sees as the fix. And but we are addressing it. We're taking care of it. No. It's so much more than that. And as adults, we actually, and I know people older than me have more exposure to it, but thinking back to going through school, and it was touched, some of the issues were touched on, but I think it's even less today in today's educational realm, standards, everything. I don't think kids really are fully grasping it and understanding it. And I think that there's a fear that comes along with it. And a lot of that fear, I think, comes from media. It comes from what our news portrays and the message that they send out, which, again, goes back to politics. And it's kind of all like this entwined mess where, politics is at the top, and everything the media is spewing out is got to be politically driven. And it's everything that they're saying is on somebody's agenda, which trickles down to adults in society. And then, of course, our kids are the last ones on the totem pole to get this. So I think when education comes into play from the side, it's like, okay, well, how do we put the Band-Aid on it and address the connection between the bias that the media is spewing out, and the history that's really there, and the need for equity literacy, and make everybody happy. And it's a weird, uncomfortable fear that I think is going on. And I really think that's part of the problem. The article finishes talking about the 5 guiding principles. The first one, equity literacy is important in every subject area. Yeah, it's not a disjointed thing. It's literally everywhere. When we teach with and for equity literacy, we're not abandoning content. Rather, we're teaching content through an equity lens. I like that. I like that. And the math example that they give, educators provide multiple examples of teaching math in a way that develops students' mathematical abilities while also helping them see math as a powerful analytical tool for addressing social problems. Yeah, for instance, students can develop formulas for how best to calculate a living wage. So, I know we've talked a lot about lived experiences with regards to curriculum. This kind of thing is what I've always envisioned we need to be doing. When I've got, when I taught in Title I schools, I had really diverse classrooms. And, when I would look at the standardized tests that they gave me to give them, the types of questions on there, I scoffed at. Like, this child is not going to know anything about that. There is no background knowledge there whatsoever. How can we be setting them up for failure and thinking that's okay? And I think that's the other big mess with all of this. We need this desperately. We need equity literacy. We need teachers to understand the importance of doing what your kids need based on what their experiences are and what their background is. But the problem is going to come in when we do standardized testing, because the affluent school on the western part of the county is getting the same test as the kids on the eastern part of the county, yet their living environments and conditions and background is completely different. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. There's no way you can accurately measure that. So totally get it. Everything that we're doing in every content area has got to be through that equity lens. So yeah, this is definitely it's one of the most important things I think that I've read recently, because it has to happen. We've got to get change in there. All right, I'm going to stop talking about this article, and I'm going to respond to the others in a different way.